for the main head. So let's add that as a new primitive. So we'll come up here and let's just add a sphere. Now we need to get it into the right spot. So let's move it up into that opening. And then we can come in and just make sure it's kind of the right size there. And we can go from kind of the front and side. So that's pretty close. Now I want to change this up a little bit because I know that I want to add in this sort of slot opening for the eye and then for the mouth. I want to change the way that this sphere is created. So right now it's a standard sphere. You can see the type listed here. If we change this, you can see the topology of this change drastically. It's still a sphere shape, but the way that the edges flow change. So I want to actually change this to a hexahedron, which is basically like a subdivided and smoothed cube. And so it gives us something like that. And we can increase the number of segments if we want to get a little bit higher res. So let's set this up to something a little bit higher. Maybe something like 60. Okay, and I just want to make sure that it's still the right size. So you can see here, I want to make it a little bit bigger. So let's increase this. And I'm holding down Alt while I click on the slider, and that'll allow me to increase that by smaller increments. Kind of pull that down a little bit. So something like that. And as long as we leave this as a primitive, we can still go back later and change the segments or the radius and things like that. We just want to get that in there. Now I want to have a seal around this. So almost like it's got kind of a rubber seal that is kind of going along the shell or the opening there. So let's create that, and let's just use a tube to begin with. I'm going to pull this up into position. Then I just want to change some of these values here. So I'm going to take the radius down so it's sort of inside there. Let's take the height down quite a bit. And let's kind of pull this up. We can also rotate this, and we're rotating it at the object level. And I just want to rotate it so it sort of follows along with that opening there. Okay. Let's go back in and select that. Now let's take our inner radius, and I want to make that a little bit bigger so it's kind of sticking out to the side there. And I just want it to be right on the outside of that sphere. Okay, so get it kind of right there. And just take a quick look around it, make sure that it's good. All right, now I want to turn the visibility off on this body part. And so again, I'm just going to click on the little stoplight there. And let's take our tube and make it editable. Now we can make some changes to it. So we'll go to the polygon tool here, and I want to get rid of some of these polygons. So I'm going to use a loop selection. I'll select this loop and just delete those polygons. Let's do the same thing down here at the bottom. We'll delete those polygons. And let's go ahead and delete these polygons on the inside there as well. So we're left with just that top ring there. All right. Now let's go to our edge selection. Select that with the loop, and I'm just going to move it up a little bit. And then let's do an extrude. And I'm just going to pull this up slightly. So I just give it a little bit of an offset there. You can see I've got the edge angle still set. I can set that down to maybe more like 100 degrees, so it's a little bit tighter up against the edge there. All right. Now I want to go back to polygon, and I want to select this loop right there. And let's just scale this out just a little bit, because I do want to have a little bit of thickness around that. Now I'll just take this whole thing without selecting any polygons, do an extrude, and we'll extrude that in. And I want to make sure that create caps is turned on, so it gives us some thickness there. All right. Now we still don't need these bottom ones, and so let's select those and delete them. We actually don't need these ones right on the side either, so let's delete those. Okay, now I want to give the idea of a little lip here, and we can't really tell what that's going to look like until we smooth it. So let's add a subdivision surface and drop our tube inside of that to see what it looks like. Now you can see how it's very soft right here. That's because we don't have a lot of resolution in here. Anytime you want a sharper edge in your subdivision surface, you need to add additional edges or use creasing, but we're going to add edges. So let's come in here and use our knife and make sure that we select our geometry. Let's use our knife, and we've got loop selected. So I'm going to put one right in there, and then let's add a couple right in here. Then you can see when we smooth this, it actually makes it much tighter now. So we get something like that. We turn off our display, we get a nice seal like that. Let's turn back our geometry back on, and so we get a nice seal around that sphere. Okay, so just keep in mind, more edges means that, or more edges closer together means that the smoothed edge is going to be a little bit sharper. It gives us a nice beveled look to it. If we get rid of those edges, it's going to be very soft, a very soft transition. So now that we've got a basic head and the seal created, let's go ahead and add the